Joan and June. Welcome to this briefing, Let's Improve Child Welfare Outcomes, the Workforce Matters. Very excited that we have such a good group of people here today for the briefing. I'm Joan Zlotnik, and I'm the Senior Consultant to the National Association of Social Workers, and I've been working on child welfare workforce issues since I first came to NASW the first time in 1987, because I was particularly hired on an initiative to promote professional social work in child welfare, and I guess at some level for the last many years, I've been working on those issues, and we're particularly excited because in the President's budget this year, there was specific attention to the child welfare workforce, and in particular, a focus on needing to have more opportunities for the education and training of child welfare workers, and information provided about the importance of social work degrees for child welfare workers. So that was a real milestone in my 29 years of efforts on this, and particularly want to thank Commissioner Rafael Lopez, who unfortunately, because of the introduction of the Family First Act and all that's going on with that, is not going to be able to join us today, but I really want to thank him for his leadership on these issues. And we should be joined by Jenny Wood, who's his special assistant and was a longtime staff person for Congresswoman Karen Bass, who's been a real champion on child welfare issues. Also want to thank Senator Patty Murray's office for helping us with getting a room for the briefing, never an easy issue on Capitol Hill, and also to thank the collaboration for this briefing with the Senate Foster Youth Caucus and the Congressional Social Work Caucus. Child Welfare League of America and the National Association of Social Workers have worked together many years. Of course, CWLA's history is at the core of leadership in child welfare service delivery in this country. And we worked together on this briefing, and I particularly want to acknowledge my colleagues, John Shamana from the Child Welfare League of America and Roxana Trico-Maruvia from NASW working on this. I now want to turn this over to Chris James Brown, who's for the last 9 years been the president and CEO of the Child Welfare League of America, to give opening remarks, and then I'll come back and introduce our panelists. Thank you.
Thank you, Joan. 9 years, oh my goodness. So, good morning, everybody, and we're really pleased to have you here. I want to, on behalf of the Child Welfare League, CWLA, welcome you to really what's been a series of programs and activities to bring a new light and a stronger light to this very, very important issue. And when it really boils it down, it's really the impact that the people that are in the closest contact with our children and families, the impact they can have on improving child outcomes. And I want to echo all the thanks that Joan made to our partners in pulling this together. I especially want to acknowledge the strong partnership we have with NASW over the years, and that we'll continue to have moving forward on this issue and lots of other issues related to improving outcomes for children and families. You know, CWLA is a advocacy and standard setting organization, and one of the things that we started doing almost back from the beginning in our history, 97 years ago, is working with workers in the child welfare field and experts and researchers to establish what we call caseload workload standards. And those standards have been around for a long time, and they are well used and well known, whether it's for how people organize their staffs or how they do their hiring, how they do their performance monitoring, all kinds of ways. The way I get reminded about the importance of the caseload workload standards is by the number of calls that I get from the media. I would say that by far it's the #1 call, probably 2 to 3 a month, and it's usually in the middle of some tragedy in a community that unfortunately will involve the death of a child and the need for some extraordinary response from the Child Welfare Organization. And the question is, was the caseload too large? Is that one of the contributing factors to what happened? And you know, that question has always bothered me because it's too simplistic. So one of the things we're doing, partly in partnership with NASW, is stepping back and taking a fresh look at the caseload workload standards. Because the number is only a piece of it. What we're really trying to get at is the quality of the interaction. Did the worker have enough time to do his or her job? Were there, what about the workload as it relates to the caseload? So we'll be working over the next several months to update the caseload workload standards. I'm hoping so that the questions that we get from the media and the way that the caseload standards are used will much better reflect the richness of that interaction between the workers and the child and the family. And we're hoping that you will be able to join us in that process of revising the standards. The people who work with what is really the most vulnerable population, they have a huge, huge responsibility and opportunity to improve outcomes for children and families, and too often that is not recognized enough. And so one of the things that we wanted to make sure goes on the record is you could do all kinds of improvements in child welfare. And there's been lots of really, really positive legislation that's occurred over the last several years, and we're very grateful for that. You can say we're going to do a better job and put in policies in place to do a better job with data collection, or a better job, you know, making sure that children have access to education and stay in their home schools, or that there's much more opportunity for people to work with adoptive parents. You can put all that in place, but if you haven't done something to make sure that you have the right people with the right training in the right places, you're really not going to be able to move the needle. So the significance of the worker has been underappreciated. And these kinds of briefings, the budget action that's going forward is an opportunity to reinforce the significance of the worker in improving child outcomes. Lots of foster youth on the Hill over the summer that many people will have the opportunity to talk to. And when you talk to them, when they tell you the good story or the bad story, somewhere in the middle of that story is a worker. Either the worker who helped them through very difficult times, or the fact that they had a worker and there was some disruption in the organization that meant that the worker left and they lost that one person that they were connected to during a time of transition for them. So we know that workers are important. We know they make a difference. The youth know that they make a difference. The family members will tell you that they make a difference. So moving forward to make sure that they get the kinds of support that they need is critically important. I can remember walking by restaurants as a child that there was always a door that was special for the employees, and it would say, our most precious assets walk through these doors. Have any of you seen any of those doors? You know, we should have those doors all over our child welfare organizations. The workers and the nature of the interaction that they have with children and families is tremendously important. So more training, more support, and more manageable workload is all part of making sure that they can do their job to improve outcomes. I think we have to do a few things. We have to put the resources in place to improve the ability of workers to do their jobs. We have to celebrate workers more so they're not demonized when a mistake is made. And we have to hold workers accountable when they need to be held accountable. And we need to do a better job as a field making the case for the link between child outcomes and the quality of the workforce. I think if we start to make that link in a stronger, louder way, some of the rest of this will follow. So I'm looking forward to hearing the panelists. I want to again thank NASW for its tremendous work on the part of the professionals in the child welfare field and in other fields. And I'll turn it back over to Joan.